But first off, we're talking D'Angelo Russell, and he had a disappointing, to say the least, postseason here in one series against the Memphis Grizzlies. He shot under 35%. What it ended up being like 32 maybe. I don't got the numbers from me. I know you do, but he was downright terrible compared to a regular season where I wouldn't say he was even like that efficient in the regular season. It was really just his good defense that made up for his improvement this year. But even in the postseason, like, it's hard to say what he does over Patrick Beverley and Jordan McLaughlin that could have gave him any minutes in the postseason, because he was just downright not even as good of a defender as those guys. He wasn't passing well. He wasn't getting open looks, and he was taking terrible shots. So it kind of leaves you to wonder, what do you do with this guy when he's looking for an extension, first of all, and probably is going to be audacious enough to ask for a maximum contract extension for himself, which is, I mean, at this point, crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one. I think he struggled not being a scoring option anymore, and I think that was huge. I think when the best version of D'Angelo we saw was on the Nets, and he was the number one scoring option then. But that's not that sustainable for a championship, and that's mainly what we saw, is he just couldn't get into that rhythm that he normally was able to get into. And I mean, even during the regular season, we saw him struggle. But like you said, during the regular season, he had great team defense and elite playmaking that really pushed the team to where it needed to be. But we saw that crumble in the playoffs. So I personally think it's too soon to trade him. I do think there's some other things you can try. I do put a lot of blame on Cat, even though Cat offensively played really well for a lot of the games. And it seemed that, like, when he didn't, D'Lo did. However, his leadership, it was Cat's lack of leadership, or how he led, that I saw troubles with. And when I think he was kind of the leading charge of, once they started blowing leads, he just kind of falls apart emotionally every time. We've seen this in the Timberwolves for years, and I finally just attributed it to has to be Cat. Everyone looks for, he portrays himself as the best player on the team. I don't think he is anymore. So when he puts out, that's his attitude. It's infectious. It really hits every other team, and even you got spark plugs like Pat Bev and Anthony Edwards who just kind of fall off because of it. So I do think it might be a new time for Cat rather than D'Lo. However, we'll see how it goes. But I do have 3 trades that could help, certainly help out this team. Some of them I really like, and I look at them and I'm like, that makes them a top 4 seed if they make this trade, if they're able to pull it off. But let me jump into them right now. So the first one I have, it's expected. I know we talk about this all the time. It's with the Pacers. So it's giving up D'Angelo Russell, Jalen Noel, Bolmero, and a top 3 2023 first-round pick. And this is for Miles Turner and Malcolm Brogdon. It's probably a lot. Timberwolves probably have to add either another pick or a little more into that. But I think that's instantly. That's the trade where I look at them. I'm like, all right, that's perfect fits on both ends. You get a composed playmaker at the point guard. Anthony Edwards can still stay at the 2 or 3 with Pat, and that leaves Pat Bev still can play the 2 actually, and Anthony Edwards at the 3. You get Miles Turner holding down the center on the defensive end, which is what he does great. And Cat finally does not have to be that defensive center.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fantastic to round out the Timberwolves starting 5, because it obviously solidifies 2 positions for them. Mm-hmm. You get a solid defender at the point, get a great defender at the center. You make Cat be that power forward, which he's played a lot more like this year anyways. I think it makes a lot more sense. The play style of Brogdon, he's a lot smarter player traditionally than D'Lo is. He's not going to take those isolated threes as often. So I think in general, that would make a lot more sense. Open things up for Edwards a bit more in year 3. And I think with Towns, he's not going anywhere. If you're going to give that guy an extension, as long as he's willing to sign one as soon as possible. That's basically how I see it. Because at this point, you're hoping he's going to be just a really great second option to Anthony Edwards as Edwards ascends into stardom.
Yeah, and I think for the Pacers, you get a guy like D'Angelo, who I think he's more likely, he can fit better next to Halliburton better than Brogdon can, because Brogdon is, I see him just like, his biggest value is he's an uber smart player, and that's kind of what got him his contract and everything. And obviously he can score, but I think that's just a product of how smart he is playing, and how collected and selective, more selective of his shot tendency and everything. You saw it on the Bucks, and that's why they called him the president and everything. And I do think it's the Timberwolves that are lacking in this trade. Not I mean, in the fact where like it'd be the Pacers that say no to this trade. I think the Timberwolves would jump on this every second. They might want Jalen.
Yeah, I think for sure it's the Pacers would be asking for a lot if they're giving up both those guys.
Oh yeah, I think Jaden McDaniels might have to be thrown into this instead of Bolmero, or so they get Bolmero, McDaniels, Noel, and Russell in the top three.
Yeah, I think that's too much. I don't think that would make sense, because Jaden McDaniels is a really important piece for this team moving forward. To give him up, I think you would not do that in this trade.
And it would really slow down their offense, which has kind of been, they were the fastest pace in the league. So that's kind of
by design.
The bread and butter. So it kind of would
turnovers and fast pace. They want to keep that going for sure.
Mm-hmm. So they'd have to institute a whole new system if they got these two players. But let's move on.
Yeah, I don't see them instituting a new system. I just do not see that happening. So if that's the case, maybe this isn't a trade that makes sense for them.
Right. So I look at so here's another trade. This one kind of keeps with the pace. It's more or less just a position switch up, moving the talent away from, if you just want to move away from D'Lo. So it's D'Lo and a 2024 lottery protected first round pick for John Collins and Jalen Johnson. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know why the Hawks would do that necessarily, but if they'd be willing to do it, I'd love it. I wanted to get John Collins here last season in Minnesota. I think that would be a great fit. His run and gun style in the transition offense for this team would be fantastic. I think he would really benefit playing next to Patrick Beverley. I think their energies would really go well together. Yeah. And overall, I think he would put together a lot more solid minutes at the 4 than we're used to seeing. So that would be a really good get for them.
Yeah, I like his energy. It certainly doesn't help their defense any. And it does create a hole at point guard where you expect maybe Malik Beasley gets out. Kind of might hurt.
Patrick Beverley probably becomes your starter.
Yeah. But then you're still
draft a guy
leaning on Anthony Edwards to be that major playmaker then, and that which he's shown that he's.
Yeah, you need a little bit more. Maybe bring Ricky Rubio back somehow.
And you're kind of hoping Jalen Johnson does. Actually, I think the Hawks would be interested. They have actually said that they're more interested in getting a guard next to Trey that can. So Trey, because Trey is the highest usage rating.
Yeah,
granted. So
no, they definitely need a guard, but I don't know if D'Lo is that guy. I mean, I picture like a Zach LaVine would look really good in Atlanta, or maybe a Jalen Brunson.
I'm not sure about Jalen Brunson, rather as a fit, but because Jalen needs the ball, and I think D'Lo has at times this year has shown he doesn't need the ball, but at the same time, he can't be the guy to. Obviously, what we saw in this playoffs, he's not the guy that can make the elite playmaking decision. So, I think
D'Lo will accept whatever role he gets next season. He's gonna ultimately be looking to get an extension. I think that's gonna be his priority, as it should. Obviously, makes sense to want to go for that. He'll be going to the last year of his contract next season, so Timberwolves have to make a choice. Do they want to extend him, or do they want to trade him? Because running him back out there for another year and then letting him walk in free agency doesn't seem like a great decision.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I honestly, the way the Timberwolves are, I see them throwing them that extension. But let's take a look at this last trade.
I do too. It's hard to get talent here.
Yeah, you got to pay that small market tax. So this last one, this isn't a blockbuster or anything. It's more or less they're like, we don't want D'Lo anymore. But it does. I do like the direction it moves in, where it's like we want vets and we want culture. So this one is with the Rockets. So it's D'Lo, Jalen Noel, and a second-round pick for Eric Gordon taking on that contract, but you get Christian Wood with him. So that's a great. Who he's showed he's still effective. He's still a great veteran to have. Eric Gordon. He's a nice shooter that they really needed, a consistent guy who can make offense like that, especially at the guard position. And then you get a guy like Christian Wood, who's a great defensive player. He's all around great forward center that would be super nice next to Cat. Whether either one could play the forward or the center, depending upon your matchup. So it adds that flexibility and gets another quality big in there.
Yeah, that could certainly work. I think Christian Wood is a fine player. Obviously, still very young, has a lot of room to grow, and I think he needs to be in a winning environment. If he joins the Timberwolves, they're still probably going to make the playoffs next year, or at least have a good shot at it. So being in that atmosphere, I think, will help him out. Another team you can look out for is maybe D'Angelo Russell has a reunion in Brooklyn, and he gets traded for Ben Simmons, as Brooklyn maybe is already tired of Ben Simmons, and Minnesota still wants Ben Simmons, and they look to just make that happen. Yeah. The NBA is full of zany stories all the time. That would just put another bow on top of this weird saga.
Yeah, it would. And I'd be down for that. I'm like, listen, everyone hates Ben. I'm like, Ben, you come here, you'll be a fucking hero. We'll love you. That's all. Yeah. Timberwolves always want somebody to play defense. Look, Pat Beverly is now immortalized in the Timberwolves franchise just because he played really good team defense and changed.
We like guys who work hard. Like guys who try hard. We're hoping with Ben Simmons is like this back injury is nothing crazy serious, but I mean he did get surgery on it. So I mean back surgery at his age is no joke. Like he hasn't played basketball all season, and now he's got back surgery going to next season. It's kind of hard to expect or to know what to expect out of Ben Simmons next year, and such a polarizing figure.
And especially the way he is. The Nets want to win a championship now, so I think they're going to be more willing to move him than people think. But
yeah, absolutely, I think so too.
Yo, Strictly Ball Business. I'm Alec, and this is Dalton. We always talk about the NBA. Come join us, and let's have some fun.